in the heart of sub-Saharan Africa, where commerce meets progress. Welcome to SOUQ News, your source for business, economy, and development insight that drive nations forward. From the vibrant streets of Lagos, Africa's fastest economic hub, SOUQ News takes you on a journey of discovery, analyzing and reporting the facts that lay the foundation for growth and development. We don't just report the news, we create it. SOUQ News is more than a channel. It is a catalyst for change, spotlighting the stories that shape economies, inspire entrepreneurs, and fuel progress. Covering business, finance, technology, energy, and many more, SOUQ News provides a daily deep dive into the stories that matter, interviews with industry titans, and analysis that empowers your understanding of economic landscape. Join us daily as we dissect, discuss, and deliver the most relevant and factual news on business and the economy. SOUQ News is your trusted guide, empowering you with the knowledge to make informed decisions. Three Wise Men. Iconic sculptures and statues adorn major metropolitan cities of the world. In Lagos, Nigeria, the statue of three men designed to depict the state's cultural heritage and to usher in visitors and tourists into the ever-accommodating center of excellence is no doubt an astounding work of art. Originally built under the administration of Colonel Raji Rasaki, designed by Bodu Shodende in 1991 and standing over 12 feet high, referred to as Agba Meta or Aro Meta, the three sculptured chiefs were placed along the Lagos-Ibadan toll gate to welcome people coming into Lagos State. The statue called the Three Wise Men by many has become a major signature for the state. Three white-capped chiefs clad in white wrappers, knotted across their shoulders and with clenched right fists are shown in the artwork. The images fascinate and create impressions in the minds of visitors coming into the state, captivating the attention of visitors who look with keen interest, pondering on the messages which the posture of the engraved images signifies. The Three Wise Men has been relocated thrice from its original position at Ojodu Berger end of Lagos-Ibadan Expressway to Magodo area before its final relocation to its present site at Olowopopo Drive. The sculpture has suffered severe damages over the years and renovated. Bodu Shodende, through this sculpture, depicted the highest honor that can be afforded to anyone in the Eko greeting tradition. The Three Wise Men, Arometa, SOUQ Enlightenment. Lateef Jakande. Born Lateef Kayode Jakande in the Ekpetedo area of Lagos Island, Lagos State on July 1929. He studied at the Lagos Public School at Enowa, Lagos Island, then at Bonham Memorial Methodist School, Port Harcourt, King's College, enrolled at Ilesha Grammar School, where he edited a literary paper called The Quarterly Mirror. Jakande began a career in journalism in 1949 with a daily service and joined the Nigerian Tribune in 1953. The owner, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, appointed Jakande editor-in-chief of the Tribune in 1956. Jakande established John West Publications in 1975 after leaving Tribune and began to publish the Lagos News. He served as the first president of the Newspaper Proprietors Association of Nigeria, NPAN. Jakande ran for election as executive governor of Lagos State in 1979 on the Unity Party of Nigeria platform. His administration was effective and open and implemented the cardinal policies of his party. He introduced housing and educational programs targeting the poor, building new neighborhood primary and secondary schools, and providing free primary and secondary education. He gave poor people's children education, and many of them are now very prominent in the society today. Jakande established the Lagos State University and constructed over 30,000 housing units. After the military takeover in 1983, Jakande was charged, prosecuted, and convicted of treason and later pardoned. He served as Minister of Works under the Sani Abacha military regime. He died in Lagos on February 11, 2021. Lateef Jakande was the first civilian governor of Lagos State. Lateef Kayode Jakande, SOUQ Enlightenment.
Yes, hello and welcome to SOUQ Pulse. It's always a delight being here and knowing fully well that you are on that other side and not just tuning in but being a part of the conversation. Thank you very much. My name is Chuks, John-Rogers Chuks, and on SOUQ Pulse we look at businesses across borders, nations. We look at donor agencies, multilateral organizations, giving loans. Yes, you heard us. And we also look at who is defaulting, who is paying back. What are these countries in question using these particular monies for? We look at policies across Asia, Africa, Europe, and see how they interact with each other, and most importantly, how are they affecting businesses? We don't just stop talking. Like we always tell you, keep the conversation going, never be quiet. My name is Chuks, John-Rogers Chuks, and it's a pleasure having you this beautiful rainy day. When we return from this very, very short break, I will get to introduce my guest. I know we've all missed him, and we'll also talk and introduce the topic for today. Don't go anywhere. Stay there.
Idumota Market. Eko Idumota, once a residential neighborhood, is home to Idumota Market located on Lagos Island. It is one of the oldest and arguably one of the largest markets in West Africa. Idumota is a historic neighborhood adjacent to the Lagos port that facilitated the slave trade and later, under the British indirect rule, it surrounded to exports that fueled the colonial enterprise. Idumota was also the location of an Armed Forces Remembrance Cenotaph called Soja Idumota, built as a monument to Nigerian soldiers who served with the West African Frontier Force. An Eyo Masquerade statue and a clock tower are also some monuments at Idumota. Idumota Market is so popular that large sales are recorded as early as 7 a.m. The market is made up of hundreds of locked-up shops occupying several multi-story buildings, with some measuring about 5 or more floors. In 2010, the Lagos State government demolished some illegal structures in order to improve vehicular and human movement in and around the markets. During weekdays, the neighborhood of Idumota is densely populated by shoppers, traders, and bus passengers. From the Carter Bridge ascending into Lagos Island, passengers can see the neighborhood before disembarking at their final destination. Idumota Market accommodates the substantial inflow of imported goods. The bulk of import from abroad are routed first through Idumota and then on to other markets through Nigeria and other West and Central African countries. The energy of private Idumota traders and wholesalers facilitate this activity, where millions of US dollars worth of wholesale is exchanged daily. Idumota Market, SOUQ Enlightenment.
welcome back. It's still SOUQ Pulse. My name is Chuks, John-Rogers Chuks, and it's my privilege to introduce and tell you that our guest in the studio today is that same person that you missed for a week and 2 days. Sir, Dr. Idahosa, you're welcome back.
So why didn't you put Idahosa at the end of it? Your own is Chuks, John-Rogers Chuks.
Yes. So how do you want me to take it?
Do it same.
Okay. Before the end of this show, I will program it back in my mind and I'll get it. You're welcome, sir. We've missed you.
My pleasure to be here.
Yes. For those that are not aware, he went to do some training. Like I always say, we are blessed within this organization to have not just learned people, but trainer of trainers. Sir, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you having me on your show this afternoon.
Yeah, thank you. Now my head is kind of swelling. Yes, so today on SOUQ Pulse, we are looking at what you are looking at. We are looking at the media, but we are looking at it from a different perspective. We are looking at Africa. How is Africa portrayed in the eye of the media? Yes, I'm looking at you, you're looking at me. What do you tell your children, your friends, where you school, your society? What has the media made you see Africa as? It's very simple. From the way we talk, from our conversations, let me break it down. Aside God, for those of you that believe in God, every other human being is selling something. Once you step out of your house and shut the door, you are selling something. You're either selling your time, yourself, your craft, or your goods. So for us that are Africans, once the media, be it radio, print, the internet, the TV, once you turn it on, whatever narrative that is being pushed, somebody somewhere is selling something. And before you know what is happening, over time, you take some particular ideas, some cultures into your mind, and you leave it. Or you don't sell it. Or you dissell it. Or you hate it. So how has the media sold Africa for a while? Now, before we go to we Africans selling Africa, let's talk about where this technology came from. This particular technology, because the media existed before the technology, but this particular technology. Let's look at the Western media. So, sir, will you mark them good or bad? Before now start looking at details. Has the Western media portrayed Africa in a good light?
Well, I would not say good or bad, because for me, the Western media is speaking for the West.
Okay. They are selling to...
Yeah, they are selling West to the globe.
Okay.
And you know, media holds narrative, and you have your own narrative to tell. One of our townsmen once said something very profound some years ago.
Okay.
And he said the entire community people say, oh, your wife is very good. Your wife is very good. And he said, but so you know that the one that she turned to the community people is the good side of the wife.
Okay.
The bad side, he turned to himself.
Okay.
So what the people see out there is the good side. And that's what everybody is talking about.
Okay. Okay.
So I think that's the analogy that I want to use
with.
to describe the media interface with society.
Western media, that's what we're starting.
So Western media turn to us things that are good about them, and the bad side they turn to themselves.
For their bad side.
Their own bad side they turn to themselves.
Okay.
And so when they are selling us, they turn the bad side to us.
Okay.
And the good side they turn to themselves.
Okay. Before we continue this conversation, I will kind of beg Patrick if you can assist us with some few headlines. Let me get to read. Then we will start this particular conversation. If Patrick has those headlines, you get to see where we are coming from. We might not say, okay, this is what they do, this is not what they do, but at least let's have some strict, direct examples in having those headlines. Now, when you hear stories about Africa, major newses, major networks, no matter how big, no matter how small, outside Africa, the things you get to see most times is, recently you get to see boats of migrants heading to Italy, Spain, some alive, some dead. They don't get to tell you how they went through, but they get to tell you how Coast Guard is helping them. And they tell you hunger. You get to see famine. You get to see crime.
Yeah, but that is the point I'm saying, that when the West is selling themselves, they sell themselves very properly. But when they are selling you, because of what they did to benefit, that is what they are selling. Because that's what is important, because that's the justification for whatever policy that they turn toward you. Now, take for example, very simple analysis. In the Capitol Hill invasion,
okay,
the National Guard came to disperse that crowd, took hold of some people. Some people died in the process.
Okay.
And it was headlined as something that was very fundamental that the National Guard did.
Okay. Oh, let me just hold it down. Let me just read a few of this that Patrick has come through for us. Now, the first you get to see, malnutrition plagues Sudan refugee children. This is today's headline. We've tried to remove the brand so that nobody will hold us for. Al-Shabaab reports Cuban hostage killed. Okay, let's leave that. Kenyan packaging manufacturers, something negative again. Okay, let's go down. Suspect in killing of Boston's not rearrested after escaping from Kenyan police. I wanted to choose to be better, not bitter. I'm still looking for a good news. I've not seen one. Eastern Congo residents scramble for food. God have mercy. More than 80 survivors, but 2 dead in migrant. These are all headlines for today. Today alone. Now we get to ask, is nothing good happening in this Africa?
Yeah, but that's the point I was trying to paint. Because you see, you have interventions, you have your policies outside.
Okay.
And then you need to paint a picture of the people that you are here. And to say, oh, these people were savage. We came to save them.
Okay.
That's the narrative. So they were animals. We came to panabid them to look like humans. So this is the issue. And this is the narrative that you will need to hear from the Western media. Because if the news is about them, it flips sides. There's hunger in Congo. But in the last 5 or 6 months, there have been long queues in the UK of people who are begging for food. And states are handing over food to them.
Okay. But
are they not hungry?
That we don't get to see that in,
so
in
that's not
mainstream media.
It's not a credible evidence, because how do you say somebody in the UK is hungry? They fall into recession as we speak. This is the issue. That's why I was trying to paint the picture of National Guard intervention on the Capitol Hill attack. People died. People were arrested. And then, of course, it was a victory for America for saving democracy. We had a protest here, they call it NSAS protest. And it was reported as a massacre in Lagos.
Different scenarios, different narrative.
Yeah, different narrative. So government is exerting force there. It's eulogized. Government is controlling crowd here. Is seen as a massacre. So what do? You have consistently incited your people against authority to weaken their authority so that you can exploit the condition.
Okay. Now let's bring this home. Now, according to a report, this particular paper was as far back as 1998, and it was presented at African Studies workshop in one of the major universities by Rod Chavis. He said Western media treat African continent as a malignant appendage rather than an integral systemic part of the earth. As long as what they want is not the natural resources, every other thing does not matter.
Yeah.
Is he right or is he wrong?
You see, it's also to understand naturally the philosophy around media. Maybe because of the Christian background, you also look at it. There's a book written by Johnny Enlow The title of that book is the Prophecies of the Seven Mountains. And he saw that 7 different mountains in society that are very critical. So quickly to say media, education, business, politics, entertainment, family, and life. Now, all these 7 media, according to Enlo, is actually currently being occupied by the devil, including the media.
Which of the devil?
The same devil we know.
No, there are several devils. The devil exists in different forms. There are human beings.
Now,
there are other forms of.
Now, so the media in him said that space is currently being controlled by the devil.
Okay. Are we being controlled by the? Are you saying we are being controlled by the devil because we are also part of the media?
That is why SOUQ is here. So that we can tell the stories the way they are.
Okay.
As objectively as we can.
I agree with this last part of it, telling the stories the way they are.
Yeah, yes.
Positive programming.
As
but
objective as they should
the
be.
Devil, I wasn't told that.
Yeah, because nobody is going to tell you that. You see, that's why I referenced the book and I gave you the title of the book and the author of the book. So, because this is not my own words, I'm just trying to replicate it. Because the reason why Eno says this thing is that media pushes agenda.
Okay.
And
selling something.
Yes, of course, they are selling an agenda.
Okay.
And they want people to believe the narrative that they are selling. And so this is where Africa finds itself. Okay. So the narrative is not to favor Africa. The narrative is for the exploitation of Africa. And that is,
the product.
Oh yes, this is the issue, really.
Now, before we get to whether exploitation, whether they are being bought, buying or not. Now, let's also look at some other issues that over time has, I won't say has come to stay, is now what we get to see. A child is born, right from when you can see, the narrative you're getting from the screen or from your radio is not your culture, is not what is acceptable, where you come from, is not the norm. And this child grows, is above 18, you are expected to be accountable at that particular point in time. But you see this person behaving in strange ways. But when you now look at it, when you sit back and look at it, you get to observe that this particular adoption of culture has come not just from where you are from, but what the person has picked up over time, information you fed your brain over time from what you're seeing. We see cultures that are alien to us, from dress sense to behavior to sexuality. We see it over time. What can we on this side start doing to program well?
Well, I think this is the issue. The design by the West to perpetually exploit Africa, most especially Africa. There's a science they call eugenics,
okay,
which was developed after the expiration of slave trade. In a whole state in America, the big bodies there, where the studying of eugenics is on in Pennsylvania. Now, what is this science? Trying to measure and declare that Africans are less human. And they made efforts to see whether they can mold and form us into humans. And they think that we are made of deliberate DNAs that are not human. So this was perpetuated by so-called scholars. Now, what you have seen...
That should be part of the devils you were talking about.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So what you have seen here is a situation where we have been overly told that we are not human. And we are almost accepting the narrative that we are not humans. This is the point I'm trying to make. So they have sold an agenda to you. Now you have become so inferior. You have lost your self-concept. You have left your self-value. I was speaking with a friend of mine in Rwanda the other day, and he said to me, he said, the only thing that Africans are good at is telling their bad stories.
Because that is what they see in the media every day.
Because that is
the hear every day.
That is the media that is sold to us. That the only thing that sells is bad news.
Okay. Okay. Now let me ask this question. A lot of people living in the West, in Europe, I don't know if they study geography, which they should, but you get to see that the media most time classify Africa a lot of time as one country. Whereas there are 54 countries in Africa. That's why you get to hear some questions, and they look at, once you're an African, they liken you to as if you all speak the same language. There are over 1,000 languages here. This is also deliberate. We don't get to see developed parts of Africa on the media.
Yeah.
What we get to see is forest, tourism, they show you one safari, and maybe Makoko, people living in a slum.
Yeah. You know, some weeks back, I made a joke with some of our crew here in the studio of a story that was told to me by a professor who read history in Oxford. And he said in 1965, they were in history class, and the professor was teaching them history of the world. So they were doing world history. They did the history of Americas. They did the history of Europe, did the history of Asia. And then they talked about colonialism in Africa. And said, one of the African students asked and said, Prof, you've taught us the history of everybody. When are we going to do the history of Africa? And he said, Professor Trevor Ropas said to them in the class that the history of Africa is the history of colonialism. That everything pre-colonialism is darkness, and darkness cannot be part of history.
Okay, where is the man right now?
I think Trevor Roper by now would have been dead.
Oh yeah, no. Hell has one executive member. I should have answered him. I think the student was scared of him. The student should have asked him, where is Egypt? That should have been the question. Then also ask him, where is Ethiopia and where is Mali? Those questions would have told the man that he needs to go back and study some more.
Yeah, but this is the narrative in the West. So for me, it's deliberate. So it's a kind of an attempt, you know, to weaken you and make you vulnerable to superior identity. This is why we don't even believe in ourselves. When we are talking technocrat, we are looking for people who graduated from Oxford, from Yale, and from Harvard. They are the only people who can think.
Because that is the narrative they push.
That they are pushed to us. Okay. That we don't have good students, we don't have good university, our universities are bad, and yet they are coming to shop our doctors, shop our teachers, shop our pharmacists, shop our engineers to develop their society.
And directly take PhD students from here to
work
there.
Oh yes, they are opening
to teach.
They are opening all manners of avenue for us to come to the universities, to study there, and teach their children. And these are homegrown graduates from Nigerian universities, and they take them
from African universities.
And of course, even from secondary school. Take, for example, we've had this over a long period of time. If you have the best graduating students in secondary school, they give them scholarship to come to Yale because they know that these people are cerebral. So this is the issue, and this is where us as Africans, we need to actually wake up. And I keep saying this, Africa must wake up to its reality, that the West are not our friends, they are our competitors. And therefore, we must position ourselves to compete against the West in the global scene.
Okay, please just hold on to that thought. I almost said calm down, but if I tell you calm down, I know that won't work. We are going on a break. After this break, we will bring this chicken home to roast. Before somebody gives you a narrative, it depends on how you take it. Now hold on. We'll go on this break and we'll be right back.
My My name is Dr. Ajili Tobi.
My name is Etemari Glover.
Naomi, well done, and shout out to SOUQ News.
Shout out to SOUQ News. I want to encourage everyone to keep watching SOUQ News. Shout out to SOUQ News, and yes, tune into them.
Keep watching SOUQ News. They are one in town.
Hey, we're watching SOUQ News.
Keep watching SOUQ News.
Keep watching SOUQ News. Catch them on YouTube and all social media channels.
Hey, my name is Frank Edowo, and I'm imploring you. No, forget that. I am forcing you, coercing you to always stay tuned to SOUQ News for your news requirements.
The National Theatre, Igomu, built during the military regime of Olusegun Obasanjo and finished in the time for the Second World Festival of Black Arts and Culture, FESTAC, in 1977. The theatre holds amazing treasures and memories. The artworks fill everyone with pride. The National Arts Theatre is visible from the motorway which connects Lagos Island and the mainland. The National Theatre is packed with the artworks of a legendary contemporary Nigerian artist, stained glass walls by Yusuf Grillo, sculptures and murals by Lamidi Fakeye, Erabo Emopai, and many others. It was put to full use for a month as one of the 4 venues of the Second World Black and African Festival of Arts and Culture, tagged FESTAC 77. The complex hosted 16,000 participants from 56 African countries and the diaspora in an unprecedented showcase of African music, fine art, literature, drama, dance, and religion. The National Art Theatre was built and designed by Techno Experts Troll, a Bulgarian company mirroring the Palace of Culture and Sports in Varna, Bulgaria. Completed in 1976, the building is one of the largest and most beautiful of its kind on the African continent. It consists of a central hall with 5,000 seats, a collapsible stage that can be quickly rebuilt, a conference hall with 1,600 seats, 2 large exhibition halls, and 2 cinemas with 800 seats each. The theatre complex has a dressing room for artists, a garage, offices, coffee bars, and a buffet. It has indoor TV and radio systems, as well as booths with facilities for simultaneous translation of languages and hectares of lush green lawn around. The majestic structure sits in Igomu like a quiet mountain, mesmerizing visitors and passers-by. The National Theatre, SOUQ Enlightenment.
Hello and welcome back. We're still here live on SOUQ Pulse, and this is SOUQ News, all about positive programming. Today we'll be looking at Africa in the eye of the media. First part of the show, we were looking at the West. How have they portrayed Africa? This second part, we are now looking at us. How have we, Africans, portrayed us? Before we now take it personal, individual, let's look at our media houses. How have the media houses portrayed Africa? A particular research was done just a few years ago by Africa No Filter, AFN, and they pulled out 3 major key insights as the backbone why Africa countries need to cover Africa better. Now they looked at some particular issues. One, they were looking at the source of news, source of programming. 65% of the media houses that were surveyed showed that African media houses have less presence in other countries compared to foreign media houses. Foreign media houses have more presence in Africa than African media houses, to the tune of 65%. That was scary, which means all the news they get, they choose what to show and choose what not to show, the stories to tell, the narrative to push out there. Secondly, they were looking at the type of news feed that was published from Africa. This is where we now have issues. Now, because of not having enough correspondents, reporters out there within Africa, we now end up taking news, taking content from these same media houses that are not African, that don't have us at heart. So what are we what do we end up doing? We end up replicating that particular stereotype in whatever form that is hidden. And our own media houses are also portraying that particular thing. So at this particular point in time, what exactly are your thoughts on these first two issues?
Well, I don't think, for me, there are things that are strange because, like I've said, this matter for me is a very straightforward one. And what is straightforward about it is the fact that you have been told, you know, and be given a name, and over and over and over and over, you have come to accept that. And now, how do we gauge, for example, credibility in terms of news? Oh, CNN, BBC. That's it. So if it's on BBC, it's true. If it's on CNN, it's true. If it's on NTA, it's a lie. So this is it.
The same narrative they've pushed across to you over time.
Oh yes. So now, even those who are supposed to be private media, who are supposed to also be pro-African continent, and for the simple morsel of the red pottage, they have mortgaged their birthright.
Are we still having that issue of the yam porridge? I don't know whether just yam or not. Are we still having that issue of porridge?
Oh yes, people are still eating porridge and selling their birthrights.
Okay. Now, this same stereotype of portraying Africa as laid back, poor, hungry, it still finds its way into African media houses because they are copying, they have no content. Then the last issue was...
Yeah, but it's not just about copying. The point here is that you can feel the skin of Esau, but the voice is actually Jacob speaking.
Okay. Okay, can you a bit stop speaking in parables and say it as it is? This is SOUQ PULSE.
Oh, yes.
Yes, so let's stop speaking in parables. Now, they were also looking at the quality of journalism. Yes, some journalists might have good intentions, just like you say, but because of something holding them down, they follow the path of easy run.
Well, again...
I don't understand the good intention part. As long as you've done something that is wrong, it's wrong.
It's wrong,
So why telling me it's a good intention?
No, good intention cannot be wrong. End up being wrong. You see, but this is another issue we need to also expound here a little bit. Look at the quality of education you get. You know, when Julius Nyerere, God bless him, so talk about the reading, writing education that was given to Africa, which was just to enable us to do clerical job for the white. We have not been able to transcend
beyond
real
reading,
in clear details beyond that education of reading and writing. I said here on one show, I met a certain rector of a polytechnic who told me that they were trying to eradicate illiteracy at post-ND level. Which for me, yeah,
at post-ND
level. So I said, oh, madam, look at it. What are you doing in terms of building and designing curriculum?
It still doesn't make sense.
He said to me, oh, that where they are trying to do vocational training. And I said, oh, who are the targets? He said they are students that have graduated. And I asked her, how will you keep somebody here for 4 years, and after 4 years, you bring him back for vocational training?
What was he doing in the 4 years?
He said, because that's what's going to put food on their table. I said, so 4 years wasted. He said, no, for literacy. And I was shocked, and I said, how did UN define, even UN define literacy? Ability to read and write.
The question should have been, how did she become a director of a school?
So literacy should have stopped at the primary level, not even at secondary. Because at secondary level, you are already beginning to cut your teeth on specific area where you want to grow expertise.
Literacy is read and write. Primary
so if at university or polytechnic, we are still thinking and talking about how to read and write. Now you can imagine the thesis that our nationalists put forward of the kind of education that we have. So you actually have people who had gone to university or polytechnic to study mass communication, and they cannot communicate.
Okay. Let's also look at issues that were put up from that particular research as it concerns we Africans and reporting African stories. A lot of media organizations still just like we said, they copy a lot. That could be mental laziness, that could be direct physical laziness for whatever reasons. Then also the Western coverage on Africa is just like you said, is geared towards their own audience. Then in a bid to also look for that same audience, a lot of West African media is also copying that kind of narrative for that particular audience, forgetting that their audience, majority of their audience is here, and whatever narrative you're pushing, you're showing to your audience here. So what are they going to show you? What kind of lifestyle are they going to give you? Then a lot of audience do not necessarily share interest in what is happening in other African countries, which is the one I don't understand.
You see, 1884, 1885, the Europeans sat down in Berlin, put down the map of Africa, and partitioned them and gave themselves control of this territory to stop intra-European conflict in Africa. So when they said, okay, Portuguese, this is where your boundary is now. So if you are dealing with Africa, stay here. France, you stay here. Belgium, you stay this place. England, America, United Kingdom, British, you stay here. This is where you're going to say. So don't come. Now, Germans, you'll be here. And they were there. So after the Second World War, and American eventually became the dominant nation in the globe. Now they reviewed that arrangement because Germany lost the war. So those territories that were hitherto held by the Dutch, Belgium, German, were reassigned.
They shared it again.
Yes, of course. You
don't want to use those kind of words.
So it was reassigned to the victors.
They shared it
again to the victors. So now the victors have sway in these areas.
Okay.
So where you have French speaking, the English can't enter into those territories. Okay. So where you have English speaking, because they respect their own boundary, it was not our boundary. It's the European boundaries in Africa that are created.
So this particular boundaries right now has made us and given us that direct feeling of distrust.
Yes, amongst ourselves.
Disinterest
in ourselves.
In the next person.
Yeah, because we are tied to the apron string of this SY so-called colonial masters.
At this point in time, 2024, those strings, can't we start cutting them?
Yeah, but this is where really we have to examine our relations. But it's unfortunate that African leaders, for over 40, 50 years, have sat down in Africa, OAU, AU, ECOWAS, since the 1970s, and we have not been able to challenge some of the fundamental issues that affect our neighbors. Take, for example, the Francophone-speaking country. That prior to independence, there was an agreement entered into with France that if natural resources is found in Francophone states, the French government has the right, or French companies have the right of first refusal. It was signed. All the revenue accruing to these Francophone states, initially 70% and now 50%, had to be domiciled in the central bank in France or Paris. Who determined the exchange rate of the currency of the Francophone? It is done from AU, with France having the upper voice.
Okay.
Now, what have African leaders
come together
done to be able to say, look, this has to stop?
Okay.
And now, when of course the coup happened and say, oh, we are anti-France, what's happening? And you see the sentiment. And they are inciting you against your brother.
The sad part here is we need to first see them as our brother. I need to see the next that boundary that exists there. I need to see that person as my brother. I need to see the next lady there as my sister. That is where we are having this particular.
Yeah, but let me give you one very simple scenario of what happened recently. When the Dangote refinery was being opened, the now deposed president of Niger Republic came. And when he was to address the audience, he said there in the public, my English is not good. Please permit me to address you in Hausa language, which I speak.
That's good.
And he spoke Hausa language eloquently, fluently, very well. Look at when the past administration contemplating doing a raid from Nigeria to Niger Republic. Go and check out on YouTube now. You can play back the analysis on our Nigerian media about that project. That it was like going to empower your enemy. That's the way I want to summarize that narrative, because we didn't see that Hausa man who the boundary that was created in Berlin has separated from me as my brother. So we saw them as the way the Western people want us to see them.
Portrayed them, not the way they've continuously portrayed them and put it in your face that this is who this person is. This is your enemy. Okay, we are getting somewhere. Now, this is also part of the interesting findings. Central Africa gets the least reporting in African media. East Africa gets the highest reporting. Then if we break it down to countries, Nigeria has 12% of reporting in Africa, followed by South Africa and Tanzania. Still that same issue. African countries, African media houses, they find it difficult to cross borders and have an outlet and have a narrative somewhere somebody reporting on the next door neighbor. So when the West floods their own media with the narrative, they have more stance.
Now, you see, let's go a little bit again historical. Here, why is Nigeria having this dominant share? Because the West know that the day Nigeria gets things right, then Africa will be free. So the focus on Nigeria is to demarket Nigeria, because they don't want Nigeria to actualize her potential. During the non-aligned meeting in 1977, the vice president of India made a public remark, and it's documented, that the whole 33 countries of the non-aligned movement were looking up to Nigeria for leadership.
That was
1977.
Okay, 1977, that is 45, 46 years ago?
Yes. That Indian and the rest of the non-aligned movement were looking up to Nigeria for leadership. Because we had everything to lead Africa and indeed dominate the world.
Okay, now let's have it straight. We have bad things happening in Africa, we are not shying away from that.
And bad things happen everywhere in the world.
Yes, we have bad leadership happening in Africa. We are not shying away from that.
And there are bad leadership in Europe.
We have all manner of things. I don't know if you understand. But now this is what we are asking. This is the question we are trying to ask. Why is it that what is dwelled on Africa, what the West reports on Africa, what African media choose to report is always the bad side? This is the last findings they did. We have the least reporting when it comes to development, when it comes to technology, when it comes to educational advancements.
Yes.
And this cuts across both Western media and African media. What is wrong with us?
Yeah, but this is the issue, it's a narrative. Take, for example, during the outbreak of Ebola, the outbreak of COVID, there were a whole lot of groundbreaking research in Africa that the World Health Organization and indeed the mainstream media in the West undermined, because we have to earn their certification somehow. And you wondered why Africa said, oh, we have made some attempt to rescue people that were dying. It was enough for this same West to advise us that, oh, let people die so until we prepare our vaccine. But don't make attempt to save them with the medication you think you have, because we have not come to try them. So I asked myself, which one was better? To wait for a vaccine that has not been developed, that was not even following procedures that are known to science in terms of the development of vaccine. And by the time the big farmers finish this job, and they wrote an indemnity that if this vaccine kills you, you cannot sue the pharmaceutical company because it's still clinical trials. And yet, those remedies that were local to us were forbidden from being used even in our own hospitals. So this is where it is. Because we are talking as if we are Africans, but we are actually re-echoing what the people from the West want us to say, how they want us to look, how they want us to dress, how they want us to eat. So this is what is reverberating, and this is the African dilemma.
Okay, and that's unknowingly to us, we are following a course that has been pre-planned. Thanks to the media. Now, some issues were raised, and some of the problems why this is happening was put forward. First, they were looking at resources for independent media houses, not government media houses. They were looking at, okay, there was not enough funding for independent media houses. They were also looking at, for those that go through agencies to source news material. Majority of the agencies are also foreign-based agencies, even if they are here in Nigeria. So the 16% African agencies were not enough to be able to match the narrative that was coming out from here. They also had issues of clamp down on information freedom in certain countries, not all. Now, for these particular places, that still was not enough for African media to keep reporting negative narrative about Africa. So they were asking and telling them, okay, what solution can we start profiling? They said, okay, start SOUQ News. I'm just giving an example. They said, we should start having media houses that are not biased. Biased in the sense of report your true culture. It is not in our culture to tolerate evil, no matter where you come from. It's not in our culture to tolerate things that is against the community, no matter where you come from. The community comes first because everybody is part of the community. It's a family system. Africa is a family system. It's not in our culture to denigrate a family system. So every media houses should have that at the back of their mind. If we hold the family system unique, then we will report something nice, because from the family system we have the community. Then you have the larger society. Unlike what is happening on the other side, who tells you that the family system is not that important? That is the larger society that is more important than the family system. What solution will you prefer? We are running out of time. What should African media houses start doing?
You see, I think the argument about funding is just a lame duck argument. It doesn't really stand here, neither here nor there, because we don't really necessarily need to report as widely as we are thinking if Africa connects with Africa. I can stay here and I can get a report from Rwanda, I can get a report from Morocco, I can get a report from Uganda or any other African country. Now, but here, this is the issue. The race by the African journalists to win Western award
Okay.
is the issue.
Are you trying to flog or shake tables? Oh, go ahead.
So this is the issue. We want to be good in the eye of the West. And I think until we leave that position, not to wait for eulogies from the West and begin to commend ourselves of the things that we are doing. And that's one of the things that we actually want to do. And we are also trusting God that money should come in Femi Wash.
But
where we can actually...
You just said finance was not important a few minutes ago.
Yep.
A few sentences ago.
Yeah.
Like 400 and something words ago.
Yes.
Okay.
That it's a lame dog that we cannot start something. That is because we don't have money.
Okay.
We can do something. And that's why Femi Wash, we are doing what we are doing. And we have been pushing. But we are going to elevate this. Because some of the media houses are actually made money up to the point to get to that point to really elevate this.
Can media...
And begin to reward.
Okay. Before you continue, can we start seeing collaboration between media houses?
That is what I'm talking about. We can collaborate and start to put good reward on Afrocentric reporting. So that we are not looking out for the handouts or the crumbs that is falling from the master's table. We can actually prepare our own table in the faces of our enemies.
Okay.
And this is possible.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Idahosa. It's always a pleasure having you on SOUQ Pulse. And hey, this is SOUQ Pulse. We always tell you, this is a race. Everyone is running. Asia is running. Europe started long ago. The Americans are taking it by the horn. Africa needs to run. It's not a matter of likes. It's not a matter of prayer. You need to run. And remember, make it count. Never keep quiet. Don't be silent. That's what we'll tell you on this show. And for every media house out there, keep it positive. Show us what Africa is. Not in the eye of the West, not in the eye of any other person, but in the eye of an African. And things are getting easy thanks to technology. Let's do the right thing. My name is Chuks, John-Rogers Chuks. It's a pleasure having you. We'll do this again tomorrow. Bye.
Sub-Saharan Africa, where commerce meets progress. Welcome to SOUQ News, your source for business, economy, and development insight that drive nations forward. From the vibrant streets of Lagos, Africa's fastest economic hub, SOUQ News takes you on a journey of discovery, analyzing and reporting the facts that lay the foundation for growth and development. We don't just report the news, we create it. SOUQ News is more than a channel. It is a catalyst for change, spotlighting the stories that shape economies, inspire entrepreneurs, and fuel progress. covering business, finance, technology, energy, and many more. SOUQ News provides a daily deep dive into the stories that matter, interviews with industry titans, and analysis that empowers your understanding of economic landscape. Join us daily as we dissect, discuss, and deliver the most relevant and factual news on business and the economy. SOUQ News is your trusted guide, empowering you with the knowledge to make informed decisions.